Sure. It's great to be here this morning. And Dr. Harris, thank you for all you've done to promote the health and well-being of all Americans.
Thank you.
Our work focuses on children and families in the southeastern United States, those states that begin with North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Mississippi, and Alabama. And if we look closely at the epidemiology of what it's like to raise a child and grow up in those places, it can be very challenging, particularly if you're a Black person. The poverty rates are among the highest in the nation for Black children and families. And over half, or nearly 60%, of Black children in these places grow up in poverty. And what's remarkable is that despite this epidemiology, so many Black children grow up to be competent, healthy, and have good mental health. If we look, though, at the epidemiology or the prevalence of chronic disease at midlife, we find that children who grow up in these places are 30% more likely to have chronic diseases. And by chronic diseases, I mean heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, stroke, and even dementia. And the prevailing view has been that these diseases appear at midlife. And actually, we take a different point of view on that. We look at and believe that the origins of these chronic diseases begin in childhood, early childhood, and maybe even before birth. An important contributor to the development of chronic disease is we believe that across childhood, children are exposed to racist encounters, and those racist encounters can change their biology in a way that makes it more likely that they'll develop chronic disease when they do reach midlife. And this is important from a prevention point of view, because if we can intervene during childhood and develop shields from racist encounters, we can promote the health of children and their children. So we set about to figure out if encounters during adolescence somehow changes children's biology, adolescents' biology, so that they become more likely to develop a chronic disease at midlife. And this was no easy feat, and we started about 10 years ago. And what we did is we tracked exposure to racist events in several hundred Black high school students. And we followed them for 3 or 4 years. And then after they left high school, we collected a bundle of markers of their health, including their stress hormones, cortisol, epinephrine, or norepinephrine. We looked at the levels of circulating inflammation in their bodies. We looked at their blood pressure. We looked at their adiposity. And wanted to see if exposure to racist encounters would be associated with this bundle of health markers that together predict or would predict the chronic diseases of aging later on in life. And what we found was indeed more exposure to racist encounters, which could be slurs or physical harm, false accusations from police or business owners, or having a guidance counselor telling you that you're not smart enough to take a certain course or to go to a certain college. All of those things over time together predicted those markers that would indicate at midlife that these young people would indeed experience chronic disease. An important thing we found, though, was that there was a sizable minority of youth who were exposed to these racist encounters and yet did not show elevation in these health markers that would forecast poor health later on. And this is a very important group to understand.